laboratory.
Alright, greetings everyone. Welcome to a different laboratory. I have this with its USB connection right into the MKII computer that's running Fruity Loops. That's how I have them talking together and operating the way they are. Some of the other things I figured out is that you can use the navigation buttons here, and you can see, I'm glad it shows it on the screen very well, that the down, left, right, and up buttons, they track very nicely on screen, showing you in the performance window what's highlighted, and then the pad also reflecting that very on point. And there's only a few of them that I have almost the whole entire performance window maxed out with samples. I think it was the DJ scratches I managed to max out, and a lot of the Splatoon samples. There's a lot of samples from the game. And I set those up so that way they'll play out. But this is what I use during a show for all of the music that I do during the live streams. This is how I'm doing it now. And I have to get a little bit more creative. There's a few of these that I like. Some of them that I'm kind of tired of, honestly. But it's hard to be creative all the time. And I like to showcase the technical aspect of it too. A lot of this I managed to put together pretty quickly, all things considered. So that way I would have something to showcase. I played for a little while. I do have, the nice thing is, a master play pause button. This device button all the way up at the top here, that one there, it's titled device on the launch pad. By using that button you can simply play and pause where you're at in the project, and it'll essentially stop all the samples once they're wrapped up, and then restart them all exactly where you left off, what you have highlighted when you press that button. The user button will function as a stop button, and that'll bring your project all the way back to the beginning. And one of the interesting things about this that's worth noting is there is this odd point in what we would call the playlist. I would call this the playlist, basically. And yeah, I have this start point. So with this, I've done a couple other episodes on it where you're actually going to tools, and then you go to this option macros, and then you do the prepare for performance mode. And you can do that with any project you have. If you have this Launchpad Pro, or even other devices, honestly. There's a handful of them out there now. And you do it for that performance mode. This is a whole new way that you're able to apply whatever projects you have going on and rework them into a live performance type of application. And this is the other thing that I wanted to talk about, because this is a mode on the Launchpad where I can select, say, this guy here, and I'll go to piano roll. this becomes a MIDI keyboard essentially once you have it panned over into this mode, and that's all by using the left and right buttons. If I go all the way to the left until I can go no further and hit left again on the pad, it starts to go into these different menus, and I've done some research on them. This one is the most useful that I've figured out so far. This is replicating an actual keyboard, and the yellow pads represent the black keys on your MIDI keyboard, and these green ones represent all of the white keys on your MIDI keyboard. And I believe that this is... I'm not sure if I can see it on the screen. Let's see if I go down into here. No, but it is telling me in the upper left-hand corner underneath the file edit buttons up there. When I press it, I see it says note on C3 and the velocity at which I'm hitting it. So that's a nice indicator that it's working what it is. And that's how you can figure out where you are. So this is this C3 range, C4, C5, C6, and that's a nice, decent little range. I apologize for bumping into stuff, it's tight in here. And this ends up being a very decent tool to use. It goes way beyond just playing back the different samples. And then this is the type of thing where it just becomes all about your prep work. As long as you know what these samples are, where you have them lined up, what the progressions are, you could easily mix an hour to 2 hour long set. And that's one of the things that I wanted to mention, is that not just does it act like a MIDI keyboard, not just is it a sampler and a loop machine, but you can actually use this to generate songs. Once you have all these pads laid out, for example, I could take this and simply hit the record button, and then as I'm generating all of this and all of the actions, the start point over here is dual purpose. You can actually use this start point in the program as a point where it's starting your recording, and everything that you've played and activated since you've hit record actually gets filled in and sends it right to there. Whereas the other option is you can use start. If you run fast, I can do this. You can see up here there's that counter, and that lets you know how long the project's been going. So I've been rambling for about 17 minutes now, for as long as this has been playing back music. Oh, an auto too. I don't know what that is. I'll have to look into that. Yes, I can't get to where the cursor is. I don't think I'm going to be able to. But the idea is that I can have an hour to 6 hours worth of music lined up after that start point. And then all of these just end up being samples that I can play back during the production. And I could have a set number of risers and beats or melodies, and I could pick and choose what I'm playing back as far as maybe different samples that set the mood, or I'm changing up the kick or the tempo, things of that nature. And this is just the launch pad. I'm sure there's much more that this can do that I haven't even figured out yet. I mean, there's a couple simple things, like for the kicks, I believe if I press this right here at the bottom, it'll activate this entire column. There we go. first 2 or 3 columns are actually just very coincidentally set up very nicely that they'll play a little progression of shorts. And I don't have as many instruments going further out. That's Pearl jamming out. Can you call me? Yeah, I love this game far too much. I really do. And so this is where it starts to get a little strange. The melodies aren't quite as harmonious as they were originally, and I've decided just to make one big long project, a bunch of different samples. And one thing you have to do a bit differently in Fruity Loops in this performance mode as opposed to Ableton is you don't get as much horizontal growth in the project. So I can take this. Oh yeah, that's something I'll talk about in a bit too. Glad I hit that button. So you don't get as much horizontal growth. I can go this way, and I believe it gives me, you can see 16 pads. And I've even taken the time to actually extend the duration of all of these pads so that way each pad represents a 16 or 32 beat pattern. And if the sample or whatever it is, the melody isn't 16 or 32, then it just kind of gets plugged in at whatever it is. And it'll repeat it at its leisure, but I try to make sure everything fits in between that. Typically, like you see with these, that's why they become one-shots, because they're not going to fit the full duration of time that I need them to be. So it's just something that you activate once, and that's why I've set it so that way it's at the cue. I can just have multiple samples of that play one right after the other as they end. Let's cut back on some of the sounds so that way you can hear what I'm saying a little bit better. And this is just a handful of the things that I've been able to apply to Launchpad Pro to in this performance mode. There we go. Finally found it. The green one is wrapping up. I can see here it's deactivated. I was trying to go down. No, it's not going to let me. But that's, for the most part, just a handful of the things that I'm able to do with this that really increase my workflow and have an unlimited amount of potential. Anybody can come in here and start making some sounds that they like, turn those sounds into sequences that they like, turn those sequences into melodies and rhythms and patterns, and from there you can layer them up however you want. I've just gone ahead and done it the very simple way where each one of these is one instrument and one row represents one long pattern. So rather than having 50 different patterns for 50 different sequences, I just put all of those sequences in one pattern. And in Fruity Loops, up here, this is what we call the pattern. I can click right on this, right on what's playing, and it'll take me to the pattern, right? Maybe it should. There we go, it's that one. That's what I need to click. Sorry, sometimes I get a little rusty when I hit my head, so to speak. And here you go. This is the pattern that's actually playing. It's supposed to be a way to actually select just the part. I want just this 32 measure part highlighted. There is a way to do that, but of course I can't do it right now. And you can see how it changes a few different times. Kind of the shape of the pattern changes, the color of the pattern changes, and even the length of the notes change over here at the very, very end. And the whole idea is that since I like this sound so much, I want it featured throughout the track in various ways. And sometimes I want it to be right up front. Sometimes I want it to be something like this, where it's a repeating melody in the background. I really like a lot of trance music myself, so you'll hear me do a lot of stuff like this, a lot of arpeggiation. That's one of my favorite things to do. And I decided that just there would be my pattern dedicated to this sound, and anytime I wanted to create a new sequence with this sound, I just go all the way over to the end of the pattern. So I would go over here to measure 49 next, and maybe change the color of what I'm doing, and start composing just by dropping notes in one after the other. And I could even go to the keyboard section of this and start playing it in there myself, but that's far less impressive than what I can do by using the sequencing power of the software itself. And I'm trying to get a little bit better and build my confidence up in that part, but I would love to get somebody else in here just to go to town and have a blast recording and making a track. And yeah, I want to open this up to people. Please be my guest. I feel like it's underutilized, and it's a wonderful thing that I've been able to create here, where you can just turn it on and hit a button and go to town. And thank you very much. That's most of what I have to share for now. As I come up with new interesting developments in production techniques, or if I figure out anything that I feel is noteworthy beyond what I've already discussed here, I will be more than happy to do another episode. I hope you learned a thing or two. Please like, comment below, and let me know what I can do better next time. Thank you.